This week's late, isn't it? Yeah. I was happy. I was like, we're every time to make an over. So we walk back out there and look. You get to buy like the mulligans and string and all that. So we lost that. People are like, how'd you get your side of your car? It's all because you're holding one on par 5. You're on the ladies' tee. Let him.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful Lord's Day, and we thank you for guidance, Lord. We just ask you to be with us tonight during this week, and everything we do to be pleasing in your eyes. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. And if you missed our budget meeting a while ago, I'm so sorry. But I would like to go and say thank you for your tremendous expertise and work on that. I did not get a chance to do that a while ago, but thank you so much. All right, roll call. Curtis is here. Dennis is here, Wendy is here, Miss Sue is here, Tyler's here, Franklin's here, I'm here, Miss Virginia is here, Miss Sherry is here, and Mr. Warren is here. Smile. 100% good. If you had a chance to look at the agenda, take a motion.
Move approving the agenda.
I second.
Probably moved in second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those same, motion carries. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the August 7th, 2023 budget workshop.
I make a motion to approve the minutes on the August 7th, 2023 budget workshop.
I second.
Probably moved in second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those same, motion carries. Next up is the minutes of the August 7th, 2023 Town Council meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from August the 7th, 2023 for the council meeting.
Second.
And it's been properly moved in second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those same, motion carries. All right. Informational items for public participation. We ask that you fill out a speaker's request form and submit it to the deputy clerk. And at that time, we'll approach the podium, speak clearly, and state your full name and address for the record. The comments will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Please. Okay. Informational items. There will be a meet and greet here at City Hall. August the 23rd on Wednesday at 11:30 in the morning for Miss Nikki Freed. All those interested in coming out, she will be here. Bread of the Mighty Food Bank Drive is Friday, August the 25th, this coming Friday, at 9:30 in the morning. Our next town council meeting is Tuesday, September the 5th at 6 p.m. Oh, didn't get that, it's Tuesday.
Mondays.
Monday is Labor Day, so we will come up the following. So make sure you notice that. Also, don't hear Monday nights, you'll be by yourself. Our trim public hearing on our tentative budget and proposed millage rate is Wednesday, September the 6th. And any questions on that? And the Lee County Legislative Delegation is Tuesday, September the 12th at 9:30. That will be at the courthouse. Next up is our National Voter Registration Day is Tuesday, September the 19th. All. And that will be just putting on anything. But that is just last.
Yeah, it just says, hop in and register to vote Tuesday, September 19th, 8:30 to 7 p.m. at 421 South Fourth Street. So that's good.
All right, and the last on my informational item is the water session order and wastewater cooperative board meeting is Wednesday, September the 20th. That one will be at Old Creek this time instead of CMT. That'd be in town.
Is this one that, everyone can attend?
We've already advertised it.
Yeah.
Tyler did make it to the last one.
You went?
Yes. And I'll give you a report on that. With that being said, Sue, you have it.
All right, so first up, we just walked in the door. On really good timing. Lindsay from Four League Cities to discuss our property and casualty insurance renewal. Lindsay, they have a copy of the email that you sent me last week in the packet.
Okay. So yes, thank you for having me. My name is Lindsay Johansson. I'm the account executive with FNIT. So I'm your insurance agent. We've had your business for a little while now. Last year, I actually was in a similar meeting. I was on Zoom, and we talked about renewal. So as you probably saw, if you kind of read through that email, we are facing a pretty difficult property insurance market in the state of Florida. It's kind of a combination of factors, but the primary driver is the reinsurance market, which is the capital that gets put into the insurance system at the very top. So as your insurance carrier, we purchase insurance as another layer on top of our insurance. And that reinsurance is becoming more expensive. The capacity is limited, so it's becoming more expensive for us to purchase. So we pass some of those costs along. On top of that, it's just been an increase in severity and frequency in claims in the state of Florida. As you know, Ian was pretty devastating for this state. And on top of that, we are at the FNIT moving all members that are on a specified value policy to a blanket policy. And there was a memo sent out to that, to the city about that, to all of our cities, kind of informing them what that coverage change is. It basically opens you up for broader insurance coverage in the event of a loss. Instead of each asset individually in the city being insured for a set value, it gives one big pot, the total insured value, so that you can pull from that. And if, let's say, a building that was valued 5 years ago is now worth more at the time of loss than it was insured for, you can be made whole and actually receive more money than what that's currently being insured for, because you're using that full pot of insurance that the city has. So this year you guys had a pretty steep increase, and there are a couple drivers for that. Excuse me. So you can see there that I listed out the exposure changes for the year. The workers' comp payroll was up by about 32%. The auto liability claims went from about 10,000 to 30,000. And then the general liability claims went from about 75,000 to 115,000. So on the liability lines, the auto and general liability, as well as workers' comp, we are up pretty significantly in those lines. And then the property is coming in at about a 25% increase. So you add all that together, and that brings you all to about a 44% increase for the year, which is very steep. What we did offer this year is a deductible option. So everyone's at a 5% deductible, which is a named storm deductible. So it's only going to apply in the event of a named storm, so typically a hurricane. Any other type of claims will be all other perils. So it's just a flat amount. But the named storm deductibles are a 5, a 7.5, and a 10% deductible. So you can see the corresponding premium, property premium revised there, if you chose to do that. So with that, I can take any questions about this year's renewal.
Cindy, what can we do? Is there anything that you see over there that we've got here that we can do to help with this?
So my first recommendation would be to take the higher deductible. It's probably the case that you haven't used a named storm deductible in a long time. Mainly because you guys are pretty far inland, you have a pretty good profile from a catastrophic risk standpoint, from flooding, and we run models for various hurricane levels. So I would say that you guys are a pretty safe bet to take a higher deductible. That would be my first thing. I'd probably take the chunkiest part of the premium off. The other thing is to self-insure some property. There might be some properties on the schedule that you could remove and just pay for in the event of a loss, because it would fall under deductible anyway. So you shouldn't have it on the schedule if it's gonna fall under a 10%. The other thing I would recommend is we do have risk and safety advisors with the FMIT. So they can come out and kind of look at a trend of your claims, because preventing claims and then trying to mitigate them once they occur is definitely, something that's beneficial. That would help from an exposure standpoint, because you have workers' comp, auto, and general liability increases. I would recommend that we kind of work a little more closely with our safety and risk team to evaluate what types of claims you're having and how we can prevent them. If it's a consistent issue with vehicles or a consistent issue with safety of your workers, and you're having a lot of workers' comp claims related to like a ladder issue, maybe we need to do a ladder safety course that everyone's required to do every year. Things like that could help from a claim standpoint. And then editing your schedule and taking a higher deductible. It's about all you could really do at this point.
Shoot, can we sit down there? Anything to one phrase, just get a little bit.
Trust me,
Yes.
this is something across the state, yeah. Some people had significantly more. Some people had 80% increases. And some of those had very few claims. It just depends where you lie. Basically, we're having a correction on our book for property. And that's something that all the other municipal insurance pools in the state are doing. At the league, we are the only insurance provider that doesn't do what we call a shared risk pool. And so you guys may be familiar with that. Basically, if one of our competitors has a book with 50 members, they all share one pot of insurance. And so in one single event, that pot could be exhausted, and then they assess all the other members. So you all could be assessed for something that happens in Samuel, and that's not really fair to you as a city. So you get a cheaper price, but if something happens, you're potentially on board with something that you're not wanting to be in. So, sorry.
Nothing you can do. Any questions for Ms. Smith? All right, thank you so very much.
The things that you suggested, could you send that stuff to her,
Sure.
what you think is?
Absolutely, I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
All right, next up is Jason Mixler, property appraiser.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you and citizens here of Bronson. For those of you that may not know me, I'm Jason Whistler. I was blessed and fortunate enough to be elected as a property appraiser last year. Been with the office for 23 years now, so I'm getting my feet wet and want to do a little presentation here. The trend notices we mailed out on Friday, and so I just kind of want to go over them. Some people may or may not understand them, haven't really looked at them, but there's some very important information in them. And we've got a little packet here. My assistant property appraiser, Randy Rudder, who I rely on for a lot. I brought him to fact check me in case I misspeak and to bail me out in case you got some questions that I may not be able to answer. Randy's been with the office for 34, 35 years now, so he's a professional at what all goes on.
Thank you.
23 years. 23 years. Still learning every day. Like I said, we did mail these out. It'll say notes for proposed taxes. We mailed these out on Friday. Most of you'll be getting them in the mail today. My phone started ringing off the hook around 2:30, so people were checking their mail. What's that? Well, it all depends. Now, the market overall has went up a lot. The market around here is no secret. It's still hot. It's slowing down a little, but it's still hot. We'll get some pretty high sales coming through. So let's start with this first page here. Page 2 in your packet. You notice in the top right-hand side, it says, please do not pay. This is not a bill. That's one important thing. You don't have to pay this. This is just for your information. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't look at it. Once they see this, see that it's not a bill, they toss it aside. Time moves on. As of September 12th, which is about a month away, you have to remember that if you're going to appeal anything, question, or want to talk about your values or anything on here, you have to get in touch with my office by then. Otherwise, it's too late. If you forgot to sign up for your homestead exemption or for one of the other exemptions that are available out there, you have to get up there as quick as you can and sign up. So that's one thing you need to remember. If you know anyone, friends or whatever that may be signing up for something, you need to remember to get up there by September 12th. That'll be the cutoff date. Top left-hand side is going to have your account number, which is your parcel number as well, and then your address, name. Make sure that's correct. Sometimes people want their billing address changed. The tax collector uses our data, so the tax bills will go to the date or to the mailing address that is on your trim notice. So if you see that's correct or something's correct incorrect on that, please call the office. And this is just a sample here on page number 3. You'll notice you got 4 different shaded colors here. It's got a breakdown on the far left of your county, your taxing authorities, public schools, municipal, which in this case is Bronson, and then you got water management districts. These are all taxing districts. Each one of you are taxing you a little bit for different services. And it'll show you, it's pretty self-explanatory. Last year's taxable value will be the first column. And column number 3, down here at the bottom, is this particular tax bill was $914 last year. All right, in the middle is the current taxable value. And then you go to your tax rate changes if no budget change is made, and that's basically your rollback rate. If the county or the cities impose a rollback rate, that will tell you what your tax bill would be. Now, at this point, they have proposed tax rates. So that far right column, the yellow, is what the taxes will be if what the taxing districts have proposed. So that's showing you what your taxes will be this year. If anyone has any questions, feel free to stop me, and I'm moving kind of quick, but I'd probably do better with questions and trying to explain some of this stuff. Page number 4. This is an example of someone that had homestead. There wasn't any recent sales or changes. When you have homestead, the maximum your value, your market value can increase, even though the market is going up 10, 12, 15% every year. That homestead cap protects you from that market, and it maxes out your increase at 3%. So that's what is so valuable about the increase, or about the homestead. If you were to get homestead on your house 5 years ago at a lower market rate, in the last 5 years, the value of your home may have increased by $100,000, but your taxable value with that cap has only been increasing at 3% a year. So it protects you from that market, from this high market.
And Randy, Jason, that's regardless of if you're the first owner, second owner, third owner, doesn't matter if it's homesteaded?
Well, if you have your house homesteaded, and well, let's say you have your house homestead and you sell it. The owners that buy your property this year will benefit from your homestead. Okay. Next year they have to file for their own homestead.
Okay.
But the thing is, Florida has what they call a recapture law. Once that homestead comes off and the property changes name, that market value that you locked in at 5 years ago is now null and void. The new homeowners will lock in their homestead at the current market rate, which would be higher this year versus 5 years ago.
Then there was a 3%.
And then they would start their
Okay,
increase.
so when it changes hands though, that's when basically you're able to capture that additional,
Yes, once it changes hands, all exemptions, all caps come off and it resets everything.
gotcha. Okay.
And one thing to keep in mind, and this happens so often when people buy a house, they see the previous owners paying $2,000 a year in taxes. And that's what these real estate people, they'll have their listing and Johnny Smith, pays $2,000 in taxes. Well, he's had a homestead in place for 10, 15 years. So he got his capped, $200,000 cheaper than today's market, and he's only going up 3% a year. When you come into our office and refile, it's going up to market. So you're not going to have a $2,000 tax bill, even with the homestead. You're going to have, based on whatever today's current market rate is. So it will go up, 99.9% of the time. It's going to go up, and it will be significantly higher than the previous owners, depending on how long they've had their homestead in place. Could be significantly higher.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
If I own a house and I'm homestead,
Mhm.
and I build another house, do I have to sell the old house before I can homestead the new house?
You don't have to sell it, but you can only claim homestead on one of them. So you could keep both houses, but you could only claim homestead on one or the other.
Okay.
Would you have
to actually have to talk?
Yeah.
And the house and the land both have to be in your name for you to file?
Yes. Yeah. Well, not necessarily. Sometimes you can, the house and the land always have to be in the same name to own homestead it. Not in all cases, correct?
To be in a trust?
Yes, the property has to be in the homesteader's name as of January 1.
Okay, but a mobile home sitting on something, they couldn't.
Mobile home's a different situation. A mobile home, you could have ownership by someone else and you were living on the property. So if the land was in your name and you wanted to homestead, you could actually homestead that. And a mobile home would not be assessed if it was someone else's. So that's a little loophole in the law.
Don't you retain the homestead if you put the property in what they call a grantor trust that you control?
There's a lot of variations on homestead, for sure, yes.
That's a lot of people use that for estate
Yeah,
plans,
so-
so it's important.
But this is just some real general samples that we're gonna go through here, and some of them we'll probably touch in our slides here for our pages.
All right, so here we are, still on the bottom, number 4. On page 4 here, you see your assessed value. It's highlighted, went up to 3%. This person had a homestead. Do notice that the second homestead does not apply to the schools. So here in the middle here, where you see additional homestead, you got 25,000 for your first homestead, but it does not apply to the second homestead, to the additional homestead for the schools. And then page 5 is just this is going to go to page 6. This particular piece here, you notice that the taxes went up from $1,056 to $2,509, $1,500 difference. So what happened? Well, like we were talking about, the new home sold in 2022, it sold last year. Last year, those owners, they were able to pay that lower tax bill. Now, all of a sudden, this year, it's $1,000, $1,500 higher. The cap came off, it got reset to 0, and basically, the new homestead was granted on 2023's market. And now they will start their 3% increase, max per year.
So realtors usually do that though? They usually go by the what the previous owner.
Yeah, and there's been some talk among the Property Appraisers Association of Florida about trying to have what they call a truth in, because it is very misleading. If you go on Zillow and it'll say property taxes, $900. That was for somebody that had homestead for 20 years, and, so And then when they get that new tax bill, they call my office, and you can imagine how hot they are, and I understand it. And so, the Property Appraisers Association has been trying to go through the legislature, politics, Tallahassee, and trying to have that truth out there, that up front, and which would be great for us. Realtors might not be so thrilled about it, but, you know. So, we'll see, but that has been discussed. We'll go to the next one here, which is 7 and 8. This one here, the property tax is double, $4,700 to $8,500. And another thing, you know, kind of the same thing, the home sold in 2022. So the cap was reset, the new homesteader status was granted. Now this homesteader was able to bring almost $53,000 of save our home savings from another county. So keep in mind, if you're moving from within the state of Florida or even within the county from one home to another, you can carry some of your what they call recap, or some of your savings that you have been accruing over the years. You can carry that and apply it to your new homestead and save some more money there. So if you were to file for homestead, you know, let them know, yes, we had a homestead at a previous residence. We will reach out to that county or whatever it may be, and we'll find out if there's a calculation, there's some math involved in it, but we can carry over some of that savings for you to save even more money on your taxes. The next page, page 9, is an example of someone that has a $25,000 senior exemption and a $5,000 widow exemption. The senior exemption is based on the adjusted household income of less than $35,167. So if you are 65 years or older and your combined household income is less than that, you can come in and apply for a senior's exemption, save you a little bit more money. We typically say could be up to around $200 based on the property value of the house, but you know, it's pretty broad. But it could save us some more money, bottom line. The widow and widowers, the legislation did just increase this past year for the first time, I think, in 60 years. I think I heard from a $500 exemption to a $5,000, which will save you about $75 in taxes versus about $7 in taxes. When it was a $500 exemption, people wouldn't come bother driving the gas, come and sign up for the seniors, or for the widows or widowers, because it wasn't worth $7 for them to have to go through all that. But they made that a little bit more, you know, beneficial for the property owner. And we'll go to page 10 here. Property taxes in this example went down. One of the reasons was the widow exemption had increased from $500 to $5,000. Now, like we talked about, the first homestead is $25,000. Your additional homestead, which was passed several years back, you don't apply for that. It is automatically granted. But you have to keep in mind, it is only applied towards the $50,000 to $75,000 of value. So if your home is valued at less than between $25,000 and $50,000, you will not get any savings on that middle $25,000. It's applied to the third $25,000. But in this case, that savings, their property taxes went down, taxable value went down from $24,500 to $20,000 in taxable value. Page 11, the homestead was removed and cap reset to 0, kind of like we've been talking about. So that same Save Our Homes benefit that those previous owners had of $177,000, almost $178,000, is now gone. So that is basically the difference between where you're capped at and what today's market rate is. So these particular homeowners had a cap value down here. The market's up here. That difference was almost $178,000 in difference. Once that homestead came off, like we said, everything gets reset, so the new homeowners are at a much higher taxable rate, starting right out the gate. And also this one had ag. That's another thing. If you have an ag classification on your property and you sell or buy, you are responsible to come in and refile to get the ag. For if the previous owners had timber or they have cows or whatever it may be, the ag's gonna come off, you have to come in and reapply, with our office for that ag classification. So there's quite a bit of savings in that.
Does that have to be done in person or can you do that?
We do it in person just because we like to talk, you know, in person. We haven't got to the point where we can do it online yet, maybe one day down the road, but we still kind of like to bet. A lot of these people don't understand, and they'll come in with 2 goats and a pig, and they want ag. And so we kind of try to ease off some of our load, kind of talk them out of it, you know. You're probably not going to get it. Probably not going to get it.
We do have our homestead online now.
Yes, this is the first year, and that's one of the things that I had campaigned on because I felt pretty strong about this. And it took a little bit of getting used to, and we're still working out the bugs, but this was the first year we were able to take homestead applications online. People have to drive from English Yankeetown or Morriston or wherever, have to come all the way to our office for a 5-minute application to fill out for homestead. We finally got with the times a little bit on that, and we're now able to apply for your homestead online. So we're working on getting more efficient, one step at a time. Yes, ma'am.
What's the additional homestead? I thought you could only have one homestead.
The additional is that extra $25,000. So you start off with the $25,000 homestead. The additional is the next 25, which gives you a total of $50,000 homestead.
So if your home is worth $50,000, then you got no taxes.
Well, no, because that middle 25 to 50 is not exempt. Well, the school portion, I'm sorry, the school portion. School portion, correct, yeah. So you will have some taxes on that, you know, so unless you're total and permanent disability, you won't have to taxes. But, let's see here.
And do you have to apply for the ag every year, or is that just?
No, that's a one-time thing. We do try to follow up every 5 years and just kind of make sure things are still progressing, people are still using the land for what they filed it for. That is a job in itself. But, you know, there's a good tax savings in that, and it, you know, when somebody's not paying those taxes, somebody else is. So we try to stay on top of it and, you know, police it as best we can, but it's a one-time we file for it, and then we try to follow up and make sure that, and if you're not, we'll reach out to the landowners and say, hey, keep something going, or we're going to have to remove the ag, which isn't always popular, but it's the right thing to do. Number 12, do I have ag on my parcel? Yes, and you can see that right there, it's highlighted ag class benefit. That's how much they are saving by having the ag. And it is not an exemption, but it's a land classification that reduces the land value, is what that is.
What's the veterans exemption?
The veterans exemption is a, there's different percentages of what, it kind of varies, but there is exemptions for veterans. And the people in the office can tell you exactly what the requirements are, that you need to bring in a little bit of paperwork with you. I think the DR 512 is one of them, but they can get veterans some exemptions, but that amount does vary, I think, based on how much you're disabled or whatever the...
Yeah, they have a Florida resident, they have how much they were disabled, they have that they were deployed, they have just so many that we can't hardly keep up with, but anywhere from 5,000 to total exemption. So we encourage our veterans just to come into our office, give us a call, and we'll be glad to look at that and see what they're eligible for.
Moving right along here, this is just this a lot of people also forget to look at on the very back of your trim notice that you got in the mail. This is your non-applicable loan assessments. This is imposed by the county or by the cities or whatever. It's for your fire, your ambulance, the solid waste services. A lot of people forget about that amount. It's not, the front page has your total this year's taxes if it's, you know, if the budget remains the same. This number is not included in that total, so you have to add this total to that front page. to find out the true total taxes. Next page, and this is on your trim notice, it's gonna have all your different, and this is where, if you don't like your taxes, this is where you go, this is who you call. It has, the taxing authorities listed, their buildings, when they have their meetings, the times, and, you can discuss it, any of the tax rates that are set. Now, if you have a problem with the values, you need to call me. If you feel your home is assessed too high or whatever, that's when you call me, and we can sit down and take a look at that, and certainly come to a conclusion. But the tax rates are set at the taxing authorities level, and that's where you would go to, question that or be involved in that discussion.
Is that September 12th, is that across the state?
No, sir, it's different based on when those notices were mailed out. Yeah.
25 days after they're mailed out, so September 12th this year, again, will be the last day to file for homestead or file.
That's just for Lee County, yes, sir.
That's just, yeah, that's our county.
Yeah.
Each county will be based on, now we all fall under that calendar. You're familiar with the trim calendar that I know your manager is very familiar with that, but we all follow a calendar that we have to meet so many days each year on various things that we do, but most of them are going to be around that same date. And then, but that's an important date because that's the last date people can file for homestead, and or if they have to, they can file a petition. And Jason will talk to you a little bit about that value adjustment board and that option that if we can't resolve something between us.
Yeah, I'm not the final say-so. If we can't sit down and come up to an agreement on the values or whatever of your property, then you certainly have the right to challenge before the value adjustment board. It is made up of 5 people, I believe 2 county commissioners, a school board member, and 2 residents. And they'll hear your side of it, our side of it, and they'll determine whether to, basically grant you whatever it is you're seeking or to go with my recommendation. So anyway, there's options out there, but most of the time, you just come into the office and we can sit down and talk about it. We can show you, we are governed by the Department of Revenue. We have to come within a certain percentage of what the market is. We try to, obviously there's no way we want to go 100%, but we try and get within around 80-85% of the market so we can get this tax bill passed and approved by the Department of Revenue. So if you ever have a problem with your values, please just reach out to us. We'll certainly love to sit down and talk about it, and most of the time we can work it out.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how realistic these numbers, but after all this, is it saying that it's going to be a 10% increase compared to last year? Property taxes, not for the homestead, I'm talking about home.
Which page are you looking at there?
The first page here, if you do the percentage between what's estimated for 2022 and the estimates for 2023, there'll be 10% difference. Does that mean that, as for me, my bill will be 10%?
These are all just examples, but that one you're looking at, I think, is probably page 3?
The first page, the second page. Not the cover, the one next to it.
Okay, so in this particular situation, you've got each jurisdiction. You got to remember, each jurisdiction, the town of Bronson, the county, the school, they have their proposed millage. It may be 10%, it could be 20%, but they're going through a workshop, and that's when we put those meeting dates and times for you to come and voice your opinion on, that increase that you may be seeing. So that's part of that is the tax rate or the millage rate. The assessment is our side of it, and if you're homesteaded, it can only go up 3%. That's the assessment, okay? Assessment less your exemptions equals your taxable value multiplied times the tax rate equals your taxes. Now, in this case, you might be right on.
This one did not have a homestead, it's just a regular
Non-homesteaded are capped at 10%.
10%.
This sample has homestead. The reason I know that is because when you go down into the bottom section and you look in county 2023, you look down there and you see first homestead, second homestead, you see 25,000. That's what we want people to be able to understand. A lot of the questions we get, phone calls we get, is do I have homestead? Well, it's on your trim notice. So this person does have homestead.
So if she had a homestead, why her bills still going up?
The taxes are going up mainly because you have a 3% increase in the assessed value,
That's 10%.
and Bronson is proposing an increase in their tax rate. Am I right?
Yeah, it's not just, we stop at 3%, yeah, but
Yeah.
the taxing districts, when you add that to it, you know, certainly.
And we get your calls, but there's two parts to this, the assessed value and the tax rate. And that's why it's all listed. The state of Florida requires that each one of these be listed so that the property owner has the ability to see who's taxing me and where's that increase coming from. And I don't want to, in this case, we have Bronson. Bronson is on here. The county is on here. The schools are on here. Okay, that's all part of that process that allows property owners to voice their opinion on during that workshop, those workshops. But our main reason for these the trim notices is they're a little overwhelming when you first look at them. But if you break them down by section, I think we can educate people to where they can better understand and not throw them in the garbage. Because a lot of times there's information on there that they need to call and ask and say, hey, I have a question about this, and we want to answer that.
And one of the things you got to remember is that the council, I'm assuming that everybody else pretty much does the same thing, the council will set the tax rate at the highest amount, and then in the 2.5 years I've been here, we don't go with the highest amount, we go with the lower amount. But you have to do that because you can't increase it, you can only decrease it from what you propose.
Yeah,
So
you can't exceed that highest amount, so most of the taxing districts go with the higher amount and work down.
And what is the maximum compared to the last year? Like you said, 10%?
I'm
You
assuming,
should
yeah,
always
it's big, right?
not go over
The maximum millage
the
rate.
worst case scenario.
Well,
Is there a maximum?
I think the maximum millage is 10 mils, but there's no maximum when it comes to the tax rate. That's between you and your city or your town. We're mandated by law, even and we didn't get to talk about it, but even non-homestead properties, the assessment cannot increase more than 10% a year. So we have a threshold 3% and 10%. But the county, the school, everyone has different budgets, and they're facing increases too. You just heard from this person just a few minutes ago how much the insurance went up. 40-some% they're facing. They have workers' comp increases. They have Florida retirement increases. Everyone's seeing that increase, unfortunately, in this time that we're living in right now. So, but we'll be glad to answer any questions we have on exemptions and value in our office.
And I think, unless y'all have any other questions, that's about it, I think.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Which I'm going to betray my ignorance, which I shouldn't have. All right. I have a house I bought in Cincinnati, in an adjoining county for $100,000. All right. And for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it is, I live in it, and I have the benefit of homestead exemption, 3% limitation of increase. I go and sell it, and I sell it for $300,000, which is, it's real value, okay? And then I come and I buy a place, let's say here in Levy County, for whatever it is. I don't think the money is relevant. How does this transfer, if that's what it is, work? What credit do I have from the other homestead?
If you had, I think, correct me if I'm wrong.
Because I've never heard, of credit.
If that previous house in Waxwell was now at a $300,000 low market rate, you had, due to your cap and all, you were capped at $100,000. There's $200,000 difference, correct? That difference is what you carry over and we apply towards your new homestead, but there are a few, and I'll let
You're
you
not
take
going to
over.
apply $200,000, so it must be.
Right. Now, I'll let,
So what we're gonna do is the state has a form, when you file homestead in our office, there's a place, did you homestead anywhere last year? We check that, you put the address, we get that information. We submit a request to Marion County for your deferred or several homes benefit from 20, 22, 23, whatever was the prior year. They will send that to us, and that will automatically go into our system. Now, if you're going from a $300,000 house to a $300,000 house in Levy County, you will bring all that Save Our Homes benefit with you. Let's say it's $100,000. I don't know what it is.
You use the expression a deferred benefit. What was deferred? I've been getting, in Marion County, theoretically, I've been getting my 3% every year.
Well, on your trim notice, you'll see Save Our Homes benefit. That difference between the market and your assessed value, there's a difference between that. It could be $100,000,
Okay,
it
so-
could be $200,000.
Okay, so let's say it's $200,000 on this place I sold
Okay.
in Marion.
Right.
So then I come here, and somehow that translates into an additional credit of some kind?
Yeah, exactly. So you file homestead here, we send in a request to Marion County. They tell us by a form that they have, an official form, that you have $200,000 in Save Our Homes benefit. We plug that into the system, and if you have a home that's $300,000 or less, then you would get that full $200,000 off of your assessment. We have people pouring in here from South Florida with these huge reductions, and
And all those people get the benefit of
they
it?
get that benefit. Now, if they come from $1 million down to $500,000, it's a percentage. That, they don't bring it all. Thank goodness, it'd wipe out their
Really?
taxable value. They get a percentage, they may bring 50%. But they bring that with them, and that's the way our legislators wrote that. It's called portability.
Portability, exactly.
Yeah,
Same
Save
thing
Our
with
Homes
state tax.
portability.
Well,
Yeah,
they do want to make Florida attractive. Okay, I understand it now.
That's how it works.
I plain confess, I wasn't aware of it.
And that information is on your trim notice under that Save Our Homes benefit. That's how much you could take to another home.
Yeah, that's
You
great.
mentioned another home, right? You could take that benefit with you to that other home,
And that's-
anywhere in Florida.
and that's transferable within county as well. With Bronson,
I have one other question. What's TRIM stand for?
Truth and
Where's the
millage. I know that one. Truth and millage.
acronym? Truth and millage.
Truth and millage.
With all due respect, it's a lousy. Okay.
Yeah.
It really is. It makes you think of diets or
Yeah.
going to the gym or something.
Well, there's.
Trim your pockets.
Yeah, maybe that's what
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate y'all's time. Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, sir.
Thank y'all. Y'all please call up, we're glad anytime we can help. Town of Bronson's been great to us, so yes, ma'am.
Jason, you said we have 25 days from the date that the,
From the date we mailed those out, yes, ma'am.
And the date is right on that form.
Yes.
It's September 12th this year.
It'll be on there the last day.
I know, but I just got mine today.
Yeah.
So 25 days would be September 15th.
Well, actually, 25 days.
Mail it, not when you get
I
it.
know, but I.
Because if that's the case, I'm not gonna check my mail for 25 days.
No, no.
I never got it.
No,
But that ain't gonna work, because they haven't tried that.
There's always one in the crowd.
Well, thank y'all so much.
I just want you to know how wonderful Randy is.
Oh, yeah.
He has answered 1,000 questions for me, because
Yeah.
of course I was new to this a couple years ago. ago.
Yeah.
And I just want you to know how much of a gem he's been.
You don't tell me nothing I don't know, so.
He knows
You ever see
everything
him
about
trying to retire, help me say, Randy, we need you?
And please, if you have any questions, come to our office, give us a call, we're there to help. Everybody.
Thank y'all.
Thank you all so much, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Skip, you're up next. This is an easy agenda for you tonight, I just get to say who's up next.
I know, when I first looked at it, I'm like, man, we're kind of far down the list here, but actually, you guys are breezing right through it.
Read
so
right there.
Appreciate that. All right, well, again, for the record, Skip McCall, Government Contracts Manager with GFL Environmental. And, of course, with United is Kevin Smith, our General Manager for our Gainesville Hauling location. As a follow-up from the meeting 2 weeks ago, same presentation, same everything as far as what we're proposing for our renewal agreement for our solid waste collection franchise here. It is the 5 years, and as discussed 2 weeks ago with the minor change that we had to the rates, all that is obviously still staying the same over the last couple of weeks. There were some bosses that were in front of me or ahead of me that were not my pay grade that were questioning it, and I said absolutely not. I said I've already presented this, and this is how it's going to be. So we're here tonight to be able to continue to do that and continue our public-private partnership, and we would welcome your support and our proposals tonight.
Can you talk a little bit about the conversation that we had about, I showed them the contract that Williston had at our last council meeting, so can you talk a little bit about why we can't put those requirements?
Yeah, so typically when you have contracts that have liquidated damages or fines per se, but not rewards, typically those are in the RFP process or when you go to bid your procurement. So then haulers can adjust their prices relative to what that may be. So like, for example, if we know there's a contract that potentially has ramifications for any kind of fines, we will we'll put a contingency, whatever that percentage is, into our number, just in case. For example, COVID, when we had drivers out, and that was kind of an unforeseen event. Things like that happen. So we have to kind of prepare our rate structure to be able to allow for that to be able to be compensating to us in any event that something like that would happen. So, yes, we did speak about that, and if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer it to them as well.
Any questions?
So, what I had, he called me earlier today, and we had a conversation about the same thing. And I didn't hear you say it now, but then you said that if we were to have any huge problems, that we could write an invoice for them to pay for it if we had to go out of our way to clean it up.
Yeah, correct. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that we did talk about. Like, if we have a habitual incident, God forbid, or from a front load standpoint of collecting a garbage container or a curbside container, if there's an issue, and we know, we can convincingly say, go back and, hey man, this is a driver's fault, you missed it again. We've done in the past, and Kevin, correct me wrong if I'm over speaking this, but I've seen our position in the past give like a credit back. So like, for example, if we own it, right? We screwed up, then we need to make it up. So I know we've done that, also with credits to like commercial businesses if there was a miss there. So I think there's ways that we can navigate around some of those challenges if they were to come to fruition. So.
And just to let you know, one of the things we did on our end, because Skip is questioning whether or not we really have as many issues as we say we do. So we put together a spreadsheet that's now shareable on SharePoint. So all of us can go into this spreadsheet if we do have a call, and we can all just log it in, and it saves on all of us. So we now just started doing that. We just got that this last week. So.
And that's a big help for us too, as well, just for trackability wise. So, and then we know we're at least getting those calls or something that happened, and then Kevin is can address it. So yes.
Well, I've had my trash list several times, and I never called anybody. So I don't know that everybody is gonna call, because other people it's a bigger deal than me. I'm sure. I just load it on the trailer and take it myself.
Call us next time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if something happened, we need to know about it, because we want to make sure we measure our success rate anytime that we're collecting in any municipality.
I can tell you, anytime that Mr. Isaiah was out driving, we usually got our trash missed.
Because you don't,
Yeah.
they probably missed your whole
The whole road.
your
yes.
whole little road.
Yes,
for you.
ma'am.
Yeah,
The whole
I probably
road.
miss the old tree because whenever they miss mine, I just put it over to the other side of the street.
That should be,
Uh,
that should be, how should do
yeah.
All right, anybody got any
I
other
might not
questions?
have it at the end time.
I do have a question. Is this any way for people to access a platform that if you miss their, say, same as what she said, she didn't know or she's just gonna pick it up and take it by herself. But is this a platform or the website as a client to log in and put a note or a ticket instead of going through the city and call and maybe it's after business hour or it's not, for the client to be able to access and put a ticket that, hey, my garbage was not picked up today. So
Yeah, good question. I would have to say, go back to, we talked about earlier, just to call the town. And I mean, as far as like a web-based type system, I think is what you're.
yeah,
referring
yeah,
to?
like a place for your clients who pay the bill to go and access and to put that request. If they miss their trash or something, they can put a ticket there with that address and that name. At least you know, and it doesn't have to go.
Are you talking about through GFL or through the town?
Either one, whoever is responsible.
I mean, you
for-
can do that right now. So there's a button on the website that says contact us. Trust me, those all come to me, so I know how many of those I get all the time. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff that comes in there, let me tell you. But yeah, I mean, some of it's legit. Somebody will say like, you know, I got a question about a permit, or I got my trash was, I mean, it's a catch-all for
Yeah, but
anything.
what I was saying, just for the trash, just for that particular issue, that could be just forwarded to them straight away, they know, instead of,
Circle back.
yeah, instead of them receiving it from you, the system will transfer to them straight, and they will know it, and they could fix it at the same time, call the driver, because that pop-up, hey, go back and before you.
And we talked about that, and Skip did give me a number now that we have for specifically for GFL, like if somebody wants to call directly
Yes.
and not go through us, and that's gonna just be little labels over the weekend, I'm gonna put them on
Well,
everybody's
then you have
monitor.
to- yeah, you have to
Yes,
hand
everybody
out-
can see that. Yeah, because if somebody calls in, my intention now is to log it on this SharePoint, so that I have it for Skip, but also say to the resident, hey, listen, you also have a number you can call directly, and I'm gonna put it in the newsletter next time and say, here's a number you can
I
call
would
directly.
love to have that number, because.
Yes, I do have that number.
Just for me to call.
That's a
I
good
hate to
point.
keep calling the city every time, you know, the issue, the trash.
Good point. Good question.
All right, we got any other questions for Skip?
Do we go tonight and do the renewal or anything? I mean, looking about the bid, I think it's gonna be at least $40,000-$50,000 more, so I don't think the people of the town of Bronson will pay more.
Because regardless of how you look at it, it's still under $10 regardless.
Yes.
You're not going to.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're making.
Yeah.
Because this is when
Is it-
our trash days will change also, right?
I think they
The
changed
first,
ours.
right?
They changed ours.
Yeah.
We didn't change it yet.
I thought it was the first,
We didn't change it, we wanted
We
to.
didn't
Okay.
change, yeah, part of what we wanted to discuss is we get through this process first.
Okay.
right, to understand which direction we want to go. And we are still very flexible. The last thing I want to say is next week we'll start, but you know, once this is solidified, then we can start talking again. I think now, where we're at, possibly maybe the first of the year in January, will be a better opportunity for everybody, right, to soak everything in. That's what, again, we're open to.
I mean, we want to probably at least put it in the newsletter and then put it on one of the utility bills, so I would, say
Well,
at least a couple of
you
months.
guys are the ones that wanted to change, so it's really like when y'all want to
January
change.
first will
so-
be better. Better day for everybody.
We could do a little discount for that though. A little discount.
This is a three-year contract or 5?
It's fine.
Okay,
I make a motion to go, we renew our contract with GFL.
all right, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries. Got time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your support.
How much the residential going up, a couple months? We know?
It's right under $10. It's it's like 9 is a change, when it's all
New
together.
rate is just under $10.
It's $9.93.
No, you're right, yes,
Not all
yes, it's 9, yeah.
$9.93, but again, that is the rate the GFL is charging the town. The town is still charging the residents $10.92.
The residents' garbage rate will not change at this present moment.
Okay. At this moment,
Well, unless the council decides to change that, but
But that has not been discussed. So as of now, 1092 is the current residential rate
Exactly.
for the customers in the city of Bronson.
That's cool.
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for the banner. I wanted to put that on record, but he called the next day about his banner, and their banner is out at the school, so they support our kids, so thank you.
And the parade.
Yes, I just spoke with Ms. Osteen about the parade.
Good.
I'm gonna get you her information, and we definitely want that opposing team on that trash.
Okay. Definitely send it to us. Be more than happy to do that for you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for your support
We
tonight.
greatly
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
I like cats all
You like,
No, he like that. He like that.
oh, Tyler Woods like hats.
Are you a Gator
Oh, he's
fan?
still,
Are you a Gator fan?
Tyler Woods like hats.
We got
He's a
5,
Georgia
6.
fan, don't let him fool you.
it's hilarious.
Tyler Woods.
Tyler Woods, that's him.
All right, next up is resolution 23-18, changes to the town of Bronson procurement policy. So, we talked about this at the last meeting. Attorney Moore just put this into a resolution. I'm going to read the title for the record. A resolution of the town of Bronson to make certain changes in the town's procurement policy, increasing discretionary amounts in the province of the town manager and embracing the policy of the state of Florida as recently established by statute all effective immediately. So basically what's changing here is quotes, purchases under 2,500 would require no quote. Anything between 2,500 and 25,000 would require a minimum of 3 quotes. Anything over 25,000 goes to quotes. And then we're adding this new section 7.0. In accordance with the provisions of state law, the town of Bronson will give no consideration to environmental, social, and governance factors as they are defined in selecting vendors and awarding contracts.
And this is just to put us online with what the state already requires.
Is it state?
So he's asking me for this ESG, environmental, social, governance factors.
But is there a state law that if it costs a certain amount, you have to go to bid?
A state law?
That's what?
A state law that says you have to go to bid if it's over a certain amount?
On certain real estate transactions, but it doesn't apply to what we're doing.
If you got a place like Miami, it probably doesn't go to bid unless it's, you know, 100,000.
I was just making sure.
I would imagine different depending on where they're at.
All right, with that being said, I will entertain a motion.
I motion to accept resolution 23-18.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same motion.
All right, next up is earned vacation time, payout of earned vacation time. So our employee handbook says in it that you are not supposed to carry more than 240 hours of vacation time. So once a year, we usually try and do this like at the end of the fiscal year to cash out. You can cash out up to 80 hours so that you're not over that 240. So I have a total right now of 281.12 hours. Curtis has 296.75 hours. Russell has 254.75 hours.
You're really laughing because of this.
And Wendy has
That's 96, I figured
92.75
it's
hours, and
40.
she would like to cash out 40 if you guys are okay with that.
That's why I was laughing.
We threw her in there just because we were doing it.
I was like,
but,
what did you ask?
but that's it's entirely up to you.
So you can just cash out once a year or get once a year?
Once a year, up to 80 hours.
So we're gonna, okay, so you, on yours, you got like 281.12 hours.
Right, so that would bring me back down to 200 hours. So I'd be under
Oh,
that
okay. So
Yes,
you
you
subtract
subtract,
that,
right,
you
yep.
subtract that 81 from it. I thought that's what you had left.
No,
You
have
got
281, we're gonna cash out 80 to bring you down to 200.
Okay.
We're trying to get everybody under that
I got a question.
240 mark. Yes, ma'am.
Who house y'all barbecuing at?
Curtis is?
Curtis's house.
Curtis is a pool.
That sounds great, Curtis. That's all.
The bird is gonna be, is he gonna be over when you say you got cat, you got.
So he's got,
back when?
so he'll have 216 hours left.
You got to have a 240 by
The end of the year.
the end of the
Fiscal
year.
year,
It
yeah.
ends,
Both of them
Or the end of the year, end of the year.
And part
no,
of it,
it ends the fiscal year.
Fiscal year.
Yeah, so he won't be able to drive.
and part of it is too, I will say, since I do all that stuff, it's been so hard lately with everything going on, trying to take time off, that nobody's been able to really take time off like,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, any more discussion on this?
I make a motion to pay out our vacation to Sue, Curtis, Russell, and Andy.
That's that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same motion.
All right, and last up is Jeannie Rickman from Congresswoman Kat Campbell's office. She was at our Wakasasa Water and Wastewater Cooperative Board meeting in Cedar Key on Wednesday, and she mentioned to me that she would like to meet with each of you individually. So I'm just kind of putting this out there. If you guys would like to meet with her, let me know what your schedule will be. If you can give me a couple different times, I will give it to her. But basically, she needs about 30, she would like 30 minutes of your time if you would like to meet with her.
Why don't you want to meet with us individually? I can always meet at one time.
Sunshine Law?
Oh.
I don't look good in orange, so.
I'm thinking about that, my bad.
He got different color.
It would be easier, right?
Yeah.
But no, again, she said that specifically for this.
Highway.
Yeah. So if you, like I said, you could just shoot me a couple times if you do want to meet with her. I'll coordinate that for you guys.
It's gotta be in person.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Because my only availability time is gonna be after like 7 o'clock or longer, so
I mean,
I'm just saying.
So what I'm saying is, could you meet with us like on Zoom?
Yeah.
That'd be
Still gonna have to be at the
I'll probably be in Georgia all week.
I don't think it has to be like in the next week. I mean, if you know, we can go for another month. I mean, I'm sure they'll do whatever.
You tell me when I'll be.
Okay. Set up your schedule for you. Anyway, yeah, just let me know. Like I said, just shoot me a couple times and I'm sure she can do Zoom or phone or.
It's gonna have to be late, I mean, after 7, so if she with that, then it is
Just
what
go
it
around
is.
it. I got
Okay.
All right. All right, Curtis, come talk to us.
I don't really, I don't have anything. I just give a brief update on the wastewater treatment plant generators that came out to put the fan in. Gotta get an air filter in. We had to run out in the morning to Wilson to get one. They called in the wrong one, came back here, Bronson had, actually had one, they said he didn't have. So we should have that up and running in the morning.
Okay, got our trucks in.
Our trucks.
Is the new lights no longer, are you starting on?
Yeah, Jordan's been working on it. I don't think he's finished it, but.
So he does them when he gets the.
Yeah, usually he has some Fridays off and usually he'll go over there.
So but some of them are in there?
Yeah, he's probably done 100 of them at least.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to pop in there and see what it was.
But everything is good.
Thank you.
No party tonight?
Somebody gotta be using that food.
What's that?
You're
Yeah.
you're in town hall division.
I haven't followed up with him, I will.
Good question. All right, Dennis.
I only have one thing that we should put on there about the Halloween trunk or treats. I guess they had a meeting, I was not involved in some kind of figuring out everything they done, but I wanted to make sure if there was any questions, what we needed to do, any suggestions or anything that we need to add to it. I know you requested a copy to go over it, but.
Yeah, she sent it. My only question was, I kind of didn't like the idea that the older kids went on, that it was just for little kids. Because it's not, if we were having a separate thing, where like we were doing a party for the older kids, something for them to do, and I would see it, but I don't want to exclude them and not have that for them to do. Because that's part of one of the main issues.
I explained to Sue today that we never excluded teenagers. It was anybody that came that was dressed up. They came through the line and did all that, so that we'll have to bring back up the big.
That was the only thing I had to question.
A lot of older siblings bring their younger siblings.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you get adults and everybody usually that come kind of dressed up and
And I can tell you,
participate with their kids.
my husband was born on Halloween, so he dressed up every year and goes trick or treating. That is his birthday thing.
So our thought was Tuesday, October 31st on Halloween, 6:30 at the park. Everybody good with that? And then we'll start
You said 6
advertising
o'clock?
6:30?
6:30?
6:30 to 9?
So are we doing it like with the businesses here getting different stations or?
In the past, that's what's always been the businesses, the churches, you invite all them and they come and they set up out there on the field and kind of decorate a little bit.
Yeah, do like a big blue roof.
Like they did this last year?
Do business and get donate some candy.
Yeah.
We have our own thing. We have our own.
Yeah. Everybody with a drum,
Dennis, I got a question for you.
What's that?
I've gotten a phone call or two here, concerning missed calls. And I need to address this.
That one, I'll have to look at, I don't have statistics right now, so I'll have to look at, I can get with you tomorrow, I'll look at what I have, what there is. We haven't missed any in the last few days.
Okay.
That I assure you.
I understand your medical situation, you've been in that situation, I understand that. I need to, and understand I got a job to do here also, okay? I need to know that as soon as possible. I need to know what we're going to do to fix it, if we do, okay? And what we got to do to.
You and I need to sit down tomorrow.
Okay,
We can sit down and.
But I got to be engaged with in the morning, so I don't know, it'll be late tomorrow afternoon, possibly.
All right. Yeah, I'll give you my number before I leave because I don't have my city phone, so you have to call me on my personal phone.
Is there a way for us to find out what calls were missed?
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
I cannot, and I don't want to speculate on anything, the only thing I know is I got a call on this, and my job requires me to check into that, both public safety, so I just need to have an answer, okay? As soon as possible.
Yeah, give them a little back from Cal, give me my number before I leave.
Okay. All right.
Other than that, anything else?
Mr. Warren?
Have we already made plans?
Very quick. I know last year, I think we let the churches do the trunk or treats. I think we probably need to notify them if we're gonna have them not be over, but to include them.
Absolutely.
So it won't be no confusion.
Yeah.
So we'll have two.
Well, they may be still thinking that they're gonna spearhead it.
They do their own too. And this last year was the first year they didn't do their own because they did the one at the bar. But they usually do their own that Saturday before.
Okay, I'm just saying because, somebody that goes to the church, they said they would start to announce it.
All right.
So.
No, I think we're gonna open it up to everybody.
Right, I'm saying open up and let them know.
Just call them and let them know, hey, we're gonna spearhead it instead of.
But they can still be a part of it, that's what I'm saying, let them know that.
Yeah, we call them around.
All around. Okay. All right. Mr. Warren, you got anything?
No, sir.
Okay. We did have our meeting Wednesday. Tyler, thank you for coming. It was very informative. I'm talking about the law session situation. We have applied for another couple of grants that pretty well seem we would be in line for this. Another $3 million. So it keeps adding up and going crazier and crazier by the day. So we had a full house at CDT. I think that's full. We have the same situation in Oak Creek on
trouble.
So,
It'll be on here. It'll be on YouTube.
we have already advertised it, so you can come, okay?
Let's see.
I know you will. So we ought to go, okay? And I wish you would, because it helps me to keep y'all informed about it, because I can't tell you all this that's going on in this thing in a short time. I can voice here that.
A little bird sent me.
Yes, okay, so, good. I like the birds. Curtis, we got anything else on our end? Everything's good, everything's clicking along real good. Like I said, we got the trucks in, we got.
Y'all got how many trucks?
Four. And so we need to ask that day too, and I forgot to mention that to her about the insurance. If we take some of those vehicles and disperse with the old ones, if that will save us any on the house. Now, it just can't be much on their own, but it's just something else, something else. You have to Mr. Jimmy.
So-
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
So you're taking the old trucks out of service?
Yes, sir.
So that means Russell truck going out of service, right? Curtis? All right, so he get one of the trucks. Well, he wanted it now, right?
Have y'all decided what we're gonna do about the parade? Like if we're gonna be on the parade, in the parade together or separate or? The parade on the fifth? October the 5th? I mean, like one way or the other?
Fire truck, or we can get I can get we can ride a Ranger. I
Finish
can
on
get a buggy.
October the 5th, the week of October the 5th, it's the first week in October.
Michelle, your football schedule's out there?
It's been out, they played Friday. Yeah, you can go to the school and get one.
And also, I have one more question. Not for right now, but in the next 3 to 5 years, would it be feasible, for us to apply for a grant to get a garbage truck? And the only reason why I say that is because of how close we are to the dump, just for our town by itself, and it would be supplying more people in our town with jobs. And nobody cares about our streets more than us.
I can answer that for you.
Go ahead.
And that's, it would have to be a grant, because
That's what I'm saying.
we're
That's what I'm
talking about
saying.
a garbage truck now is
$400,000.
$400 and something
Yeah.
$1,000 for one of those. And that's not one of these fancy ones you see running around.
But can we apply for a grant for one? Is that something that, anyone would be?
You look out for the insurance for that.
You have to apply for, City of Chiefland did, is how I hired it. It's not for the fire, it's not for a garbage truck. But there are grants where you can hire employees and the state will pay a percentage of it, and normally it's low income. Your biggest issue your city's face is making sure you can continue that when the grant expires. So you have to make sure you're gonna have your revenue, you're gonna have the upkeep, you're gonna have the insurance, you're gonna have the employees, and you're gonna be able to cover all that. So unless your fees are high enough to cover all of those expenses, you're gonna lose it. I just know, because when I got hired with Chief of Fire Rescue, that's how they hired me for the first 3 years.
Okay, Curtis and I had this conversation several times now.
I'm done.
You gotta remember that we're only paying, when I say only, but it's $100 and something thousand that we pay the chief about. I mean, I know that sounds like a lot of money, but when you're thinking about trucks and.
That's not why I asked though. It's not because of how much we're paying. It's because nobody cares about our town more than us. That's the reason why I'm asking. And for us to be employing people, we're paying people that live in Gainesville and DFE to care about our streets. And they're not going to because,
All of them don't live in Gaines.
well, I'm just saying.
No, I got you.
But that's the reason why I was asking. Not because of money, because when it comes down to dollars making sense, $10 a house is not nothing. And I know that they complain about it because, you know, to most citizens that are on low income, they feel like they're already paying for it in their taxes, which they are not paying to take it to the dump in their taxes. So I don't have a problem with the fee. I'm just saying, I think that people that are here, that are from here, are going to treat our town better than people that don't live here.
I got you.
All right.
I got a question, Jenny, is it possible that we can get a, I don't, it used to be, I think it just went out and nobody never replaced it, but the light at, the corner of Main Street and 24th,
That's not us, that's county.
that light is out,
Main Street.
Main Street is, a county road.
right there by Bill Rock,
Yeah.
on Cross Street.
Oh, okay.
The one that, it's really at the elementary school, or is it on the other side of the?
On Mr. Roadside?
It's on the side where Ray got the houses.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
that's right at that corner. It
Okay.
used to be a light there, but when you come from Gainesville,
Oh, you can't see
sometimes
that
it be
road.
dark there, you don't know where the street is.
Right.
And
It's not
the
one of
next
our
street,
lights.
But it's
the
Central
next
Florida.
street, be Mungo Street,
That's
or
Central
Glover
Florida,
Street, the
right?
next street will be Glover Street. It's not one there either, I don't think.
It is. The one on Main is,
One there?
Okay, it must be out.
One on
the
Main.
one on Main is the county. We don't pay for that one, that's not ours. That's
If you,
county.
if you see one that's out, all you gotta do is just tell us, we can call it and get that fixed.
Man, that's like been out 3 years.
Well, I mean, let's keep it,
That's what I'm saying.
So where, tell me where it is again?
On the corner of Main Street, where Main Street is, where the yoga studio is right there, on the other side of, like, you walked across the road where, Ray got those duplexes in, right there, there's no light that's right there.
Is it out or is there no light there?
Yeah, he said it's out.
okay, we'll check on it,
You know,
we'll check on
years.
I stopped driving that road because you can't see it.
Got it.
Turn that light.
Ms. Sherry,
No, sir.
Mr. Franklin.
Yeah, we had our first cemetery meeting, last Wednesday, I think it was August 16th. Last Wednesday, Monday, but Monday? Okay. And our next meeting is, September the 20th, at 3 o'clock up here. I'm just saying this for information. And we elected a vice president, and Mr. Roosevelt is the president, but Mr. Gary Mungo got elected the vice president, and Ms. Lillian McClendon, she got elected as secretary. And like I said, our next meeting is going to be September the 20th at 3 o'clock. And I haven't gotten over to the library yet, so I'm going.
All right, we got any more public participation? With that being said, y'all had a chance to look at the bills?
Make a motion to pay the bills.
I have a motion to pay the bills,
I think,
and I have a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.